Welcome back everyone to this special edition of the Think Tank. Bitcoin, an in-depth analysis. It's basically a monetary instrument that's being created through a computer system, and it requires extreme computing power to create. Instead of using the word create, they call it mining, Bitcoin mining. So mining means, like gold for example, you physically have to extract it from the ground. With Bitcoin you have to mine them through solving extremely difficult mathematical problems. And once the problem is solved, a Bitcoin is created. That's the way it works. Now, it's mined through a lot of pools coming together because it's so difficult to mine, and you need so many computers which have very, very high resources, which are very expensive. So the average guy who has a computer will not be able to mine Bitcoin because his computer is not fast or powerful enough. But if you mine together with a pool of other miners, you can then create a group, and then you share in the coins that are being mined. So that's how most Bitcoins are being created. Now, as more and more Bitcoins are being mined, the difficulty factor goes up, and therefore more expensive computer equipment, which are more powerful, are going to be required to be used in order to mine more Bitcoins. And of course, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoins that can be created. Once it reaches to a certain point, it's finite and no more can be created anymore. So that's what makes it more valuable. So that's basically what it is. It's not something you could touch, feel, or see. It's just units that come up in a Bitcoin wallet. You can search that online. What that really means is just, it's something that you own. It's your wallet. It has a certain number on it. And as you accumulate Bitcoins for yourself, they go into your account. And if you lose this wallet, which means if you forget the password, it's lost forever. So it's like you lose cash. There's no trace of it. You have to remember your account number. Now, what are the pros of Bitcoin? Now, which I just mentioned, a non-centralized network, meaning the government doesn't have control over it. It's decentralized. It's created through a bunch of people coming together, such as file sharing. It's not controlled by anyone, by governments or banks. The pros are also, it's very easy to transfer. You can send someone Bitcoins to anywhere in the world, and they have value no matter which country it's in. It doesn't have to be converted to another currency. So it's easy to transfer and easy to use. Now, the other thing is that Bitcoin is a lot safer than other cryptocurrencies. When I say other cryptocurrencies, there have been others in the past, and they haven't worked, because what happens is there is something called double spending, which destroys the whole concept of it. Because if you can spend the same cryptocurrencies over and over again, it just basically destroys the value of it. Because essentially what money is value that you're giving to someone for something that you need. And if you're having something that can be duplicated and spent over again, it loses value, and therefore you can't transfer it for something else of value. It's basically simple. Bitcoin has become a very stable network, and therefore it has the confidence of the people that are spending it and gives it value in order to transfer it for other value. So that is another very appealing thing about Bitcoin. Now, the other thing about it is that it actually creates an opportunity for people, because anybody can mine Bitcoin and you can make money doing it. If you mine Bitcoin, you actually own the Bitcoin. You get awarded with Bitcoins if you're able to mine them, and then you have Bitcoins to spend or to sell. You can actually sell Bitcoins. You can buy and sell Bitcoins. So that's another opportunity. People are actually mining them. However, you have to be careful because the price of Bitcoin goes up and down, so you have to basically figure out how much you're spending on equipment and the current price of Bitcoin, how much it's going to go up, how much it might go up, and that's another issue. But I'm talking about a benefit here, and that's another benefit because it's actually an opportunity for some people to give it a go, to become a Bitcoin miner. Now, I'm going to talk about the main problem with Bitcoin is There is no government control. However, the government may be able to control people that accept it. For example, governments can say, well, if you're a merchant and you want to take Bitcoin, you're going to need a license because it's a monetary type of instrument, and therefore you're going to have to get a license in order to be a miner of a monetary instrument. And what governments can do is say, not only you need a license, and then the miner's going to ask the government, well, how much is it? And they can come up with some ridiculous number. Well, it's going to be $20,000 or something like that. And then you have to pay some sort of an annual fee. They'll basically make it so expensive that people will not want to mine Bitcoin. And that's going to be a problem. Because you're going to need more Bitcoins. They need to be mined. They have to be transferred back and forth, and it can disrupt the whole network. So that's a problem. And then the other thing is that governments can create taxes on it, which makes it more expensive to use. If a merchant wants to use it, they'll start assessing taxes. And this can be on many levels of government. It can be local, it can be state, it can be federal. Just talking about the United States, other countries, you have a lot of other totalitarian countries. Who knows what they can do? So when governments get involved, it can cause a problem for Bitcoin use. Now, the other thing about Bitcoin is, you really don't have any coin at all. It's a monetary unit that's just stated on a computer. It doesn't have any use to it. I mean, if you solve these problems, you're rewarded with a Bitcoin. So it just appears on your computer screen and it goes into your wallet, but you can't touch or feel it. It's not an end product. It's not something that you could use. It's just something that says you have a coin. That's all it says. It's in this system. It's in a blockchain. And basically, it just says that you have it. And what's really interesting is, like I said, you see here in the think tank, we go in depth. We get very philosophical. We analyze. And you're only going to find this information at the think tank. No people in Bitcoin are ever going to give you this information. That's why you should subscribe and put your thinking caps on for this one, because this is very philosophical. Bitcoin, I want to make a very important point there. Bitcoin is like gold in reverse. Think about it. What gives gold value? What gives it value is the gold itself. Because gold is so valuable for so many reasons. It's used in jewelry, and look at all the industrial purposes. Computers, electronics, dentistry. It's very high in demand, even if you took away the cosmetic value of it. Because we can live without jewelry, but life without computers, cell phones, dentistry. Think of all the things that gold is used for. And it's very rare. And gold is also finite, so there's only so much of it out there. So, if you think about it, gold is so expensive to mine. And the reason why it's so expensive is because it takes so much work to find the gold. You need a tremendous amount of expensive, heavy machinery. You need to hire people that are skilled, that know how to operate the machinery. You have to lease land. You have to take risks. You have to hope that the gold is there. So there's a lot that's involved. So why is it done? It's done because it's worth it. The gold that is mined is worth all the expense to do it. With Bitcoin, it's the exact opposite. See, with Bitcoin, the reason why Bitcoin has value is because of all the work that was put into it. Because the Bitcoin itself has no value. You can't do anything with it. But it's because you spend so much money on this extremely expensive computer equipment that's required in order to solve the very difficult math problems that are there in order to mine Bitcoin. That's why it has value. So think of this. Gold is the ends that justify the means. Bitcoin is the means that justify the ends. It's amazing. That's why I love philosophy. I mean, if you really think about it, you analyze, you come up with these amazing conclusions. Gold in reverse. Where are you going to find that point made anywhere but right here at the think tank? the means to justify the ends, and that's why we have a monetary instrument that's worth something. Very interesting. Now let me tell you something. I think Bitcoin has an advantage over gold because of the fact that it's so convertible. See, gold is not nearly as convertible as Bitcoin because it's a piece of metal. If you're going to give it to someone in exchange for something else, they have to see if the gold is authentic, they have to see the quality of the gold, they have to check it. And of course, in an age where we send money back and forth all over the world in seconds, gold is not going to cut it to be a convertible monetary instrument. And that's where Bitcoin has a lot of appeal. It's so convertible. There's no currency conversion that's required. Like if you're going to send somebody money in your currency to another country, you have to figure out what their currency is worth and convert it into terms to see what your currency is worth that you're spending now in the country you live in to see if that transaction is worth the value. So the person that receives money from you and sends you a product in exchange, he is looking at the amount of money you're sending him and then has to have it converted to see how much he's getting. With Bitcoin, you don't have that. You see, with Bitcoin, it has its own value. And based on that value, you know what you're getting. So it's going to be converted to the currency that you have. And that's how you can tell what Bitcoin is worth in every different country that you're in. So you don't have to worry about converting one currency to another. It can be used in any country. If you have the Bitcoin and someone is willing to accept it, the Bitcoin has its value. That's it. And then it can be converted based on the currency exchange itself, if you want to convert it and figure out what it is in its value in money. So it makes it a universal concept. So it has a lot of appeal to it, and it's a great idea. However, the problem you have is that it doesn't have value itself. Like I said, it's just something that was created through a lot of expensive equipment and hard work and time. And of course, electricity, because you need a lot of power to run the expensive computer equipment, which require a lot of power in order to mine Bitcoin. Now, there is another problem with Bitcoin, by the way, and it's called a 51% attack. Now, what can happen is, if somebody has a tremendous amount of money, they can buy an enormous amount of computer equipment, the latest out there. And it's possible that they can prevent transactions, double spending, and that is the big danger here, because that's what destroyed the confidence of prior cryptocurrencies, is double spending. If that happens, people can lose confidence in it, and then the value of it will rapidly decline, and people will not want to use it anymore. So the most important thing, what really gives Bitcoin its value, is the fact that it's very stable, is its stability and safety. Because if that goes away, it's like any currency. I mean, imagine if you have a government that's creating currency, like what happened in the Confederate States of America when they issued their own currency. The joke was made is that if something looked too good, it was probably fake. I mean, that's how poor the currency creation was during that time. So it's similar. If double spending is happening, the value of it will not be there. So this is a major problem. However, the 51% attack is something that can happen. It is very rare though, because I heard you would need an enormous amount of resources, computer resources, that would have to be purchased in order to take over a major pool and therefore have control over a large amount of the Bitcoin itself. But it is something to keep in mind. And can it happen? It can. So Bitcoin is not 100% secure and safe. And if there's something that's compromised there, it's a huge problem. It's a very big problem. See, even with fiat currency, we've had problems with governments that were inflating the currency too much. And there are other governments, like I said, the Confederate States of America during the Civil War, they were creating too much currency, counterfeiting, so it was a big problem. And this is what caused the value of it to go down substantially. But what happened was governments are cyclical. They can go from unstable to more stable to less stable, and then they can regain the confidence of the people. However, can Bitcoin regain confidence? It's unlikely. If something serious happens to it, it's unlikely that it will be able to come back, and then maybe it'll be replaced with another cryptocurrency, who knows? And that's something else I want to get to. There are other cryptocurrencies out there. I heard there's something called Litecoin, Feathercoin. Now this is going to hurt Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin becomes too expensive and difficult to mine, people might go to other cryptocurrencies. Now if there are too many cryptocurrencies out there, it gives people more choices. So if too much is being used, it's supply and demand, one-on-one, right? If you have too much money chasing not enough goods, then the value of the currency being used is going to go down. So that can hurt Bitcoin. Another problem with it is that it's too volatile. It goes up and down at a very, very high pace, and it doesn't have a stable value. So if you go to the store, let's say you want to buy, a loaf of bread for $1, one day it's going to be $1, the next day it could be $10, the other day it could be $5, so it doesn't have a stable price yet because of all the buying and selling that's going on. Although fiat currencies aren't that stable, when you go to the store to buy stuff, the price pretty much doesn't go up too wildly every day. When you have something that you create that doesn't have value, but only has value because of the way it was created, therefore, the confidence in it can be easily compromised. If anything goes wrong with it, with the way how it's created, if it's able to be duplicated, double spent, it could just go up in smoke very quickly. Because how will it regain the confidence of people? The cryptocurrencies of the past had problems because they were compromised and they were gone. That was the end of it. That's the problem with it. Will a 51% attack destroy it? I heard it's unlikely. It could hurt the confidence because of what the people that control a majority of the coins can do, the double spending that can go on, reverse transactions. It could really hurt the confidence. So it's something that you have to weigh as far as the pros and the cons. And you have to make an educated decision. You have to figure out the risk-reward ratio. It's like most things. There's always risk-reward ratios to things, and then make an educated decision if it's something that you want to use. But anyways, Bitcoin is a very interesting concept. I would like to know what you think. Please leave your comments. Please like up this video. Please subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.